Today I'd like to respond to a video from a physicist named Bryanton. He wrote a book about a decade ago called Imagining the 10th Dimension. His channel on YouTube is 10th Dim 10THDIM for those of you who are looking for it. And Rob is part of this community of theoretical physics that I don't feel easy with, because I believe that we should all follow certain standards in putting forth things as fact, and those standards are taught to people who are going to be scientists from the outset. Day one, when you sign up to be a scientist, you are signing up to a kind of a club that likes to validate things and likes to only put forward those things that can be testable as facts. So a lot of the theories in theoretical physics, they shouldn't be afforded that term theory, because it actually has different connotations, and the scientific one is one which requires a little bit more of the idea being put forth than just it being an idea that somebody had and other peoples have built on. Anyways, the particular video that I'd like to address here is Rob Bryanton's video, Is God in the Seventh Dimension? And in it, at a certain point, you will see that he describes truths and says that he knows that he's going against Richard Dawkins' worldview that he puts forth in the God Delusion. And he says that he knows this, but he feels that maybe there's some greater truth that can be found in that seventh dimension that will unify all of these other, worldviews, And I understand the desire to have everyone end up being right, and we can all pat ourselves on the back at the end of the day. But these truths that would be unified, many times they are mutually exclusive. Okay? And some of those truths are based in science, and some of them are spiritual perspectives. But my bigger problem here is that when you become a scientist, one of those other things that you learn from the outset is that you shouldn't have biases towards the outcome of what you're going to be studying, such that you would want something like an answer that fits everything. That's what's got to be there. When you put the cart before the horse, when you expect to find an answer that will satisfy everyone's worldview, even the wrong people, everyone's going to be right, you are not doing science right. Okay? And it's my expectation that when I see the title, Is God in the Seventh Dimension, and you start talking about how many people after reading your book are wondering if God is in the 10th dimension, and then, I see other competing theories that say that there's even more than 10 dimensions. There's 11, or bosonic theory saying 26, or, whatever M theory is today. I don't know. Those theories change a lot, but not a lot of what they change on is based in validatable facts that I can test before me. And I feel like a lot of woo comes out of theoretical physics And it's not just from the likes of Rob Bryanton or Deepak Chopra, you know, taking quantum theory and then just using terms from it in order to make people feel good about their spirituality. I feel like 20 years from now, maybe right before I die, I'll be able to see that a lot of the theoretical physicists that we put forth as our best scientists today will have been proven to be incredibly wrong about their assumptions about these different dimensions. And I'm especially skeptical of the simplifications that 10th Dimension uses in some of his more popular videos in order to explain how other dimensions come about. One of these is the traditional one dimension is just a line, you know, and then two dimensions is two lines on a plane, and so that's created by making a right angle off of that line. And then, of course, to get three dimensions from two, you make a right angle off of that plane. And my problem is when it gets applied to other dimensions, as if this is a constant that must be in place for all of them. And then one of those dimensions just has to be time, which is completely not even a geometry term, really, time. But you would say that, well, each dimension must be two more directions that are in a right angle from the previous amount of dimensions. Problem here, all of those extra dimensions past the third would be theories, and most people would recognize that. But what many people don't recognize is that the two dimensions before that are also theoretical. The first dimension being that one line. Well, if you had one line, what are you representing it with? A line of atoms to be the thinnest thing that you could possibly find? Well, those atoms are still three-dimensional. Okay? Two lines in a plane. If you have a sheet of paper, it doesn't matter how thin it is, it's still three-dimensional. Okay? Those first two dimensions are encompassed in that third dimension, and it's what I would compare to making a punk rock song in the realm of all that is music. If you limit yourself to just punk rock, there are musical theories that would help you construct that song, but that doesn't mean that the rest of music doesn't still exist around you. Okay? The only place you will see these first and second dimension examples is maybe on a computer screen, maybe draw up on a chalkboard, but you will never see a real example of it. Everything that you use to express it will be a three-dimensional thing. At least one atom thick, maybe, you know, you're going to measure it in millimicrons, okay? But it will still be three-dimensional. And those two dimensions that you thought of before, they are things that many mathematical concepts have come from. And they can deal with things in terms of 1 and 2 dimensions and then 3 dimensions, yes. But it does not follow that the way that you get from being able to express 1 to 2 dimensions and then 2 to 3 is going to make all of these other dimensions work, especially when we have things in the third dimension that cannot be folded upon themselves very easily and both occupy the same space. You've never seen it. You've never been able to show other people how to create and validate this for themselves, how this space can fold. It is theoretical. No one's ever made a wormhole, no one's ever seen a wormhole, and I feel like when you pander to the sci-fi crowd that still wants there to be magic, then you're going to end up in a world of woo, even if you set out to be less woo than the rest of the theories about the world. Entertaining the question, is God in the seventh dimension? You presuppose a lot about the previous dimensions and what their meaning to the previous dimensions are before them. Especially when whichever dimension is time is so different between all of the different theories that you yourself have spoken of. Good luck for your search for God in every gap that you find, in every extra dimension that you add, in your infinite regress towards where you finally will find some sort of thing that you can call God that will explain that everyone has been right from the outset, and that all of these people who've been killing each other for thousands of years can just put down their arms and hug each other because we finally have the answer to everything. Good luck. But despite all of your good intentions, I think that your efforts might be better served to stick to something that is verifiable, and maybe you'll come up with like the cure for cancer, which is something that I can at least conceive of in a way where time travel and reality travel seem to be a little bit more distant in our abilities to achieve, because they're fanciful and yeah, just quit putting forth things that are woo, and you'll see that the more that we try to clean up our own, the more we'll find wrong with our own that we previously thought were acceptable.